Let's kick it! Yes, dear viewers, hello squeakers! We're back off the autorail. We're going into Dignity, the 12th block of Grand Atrium. I didn't know that. Now we know it. So, we get this, I believe this is called NVL style. I think it's a Rinpai thing. I remember hearing that. Where we kind of have this dark background and we have the text coming from the top. We've only gotten this a couple times in the game, but this is kind of referencing the first time you see it, which is when you enter Smile Atrium. So I hope we get this every time we go to a new area, because it's cool, and I can see it being kind of like iconic in a couple games, or in a couple discs later, you know? But yeah, so we have the smell of paper, laminate, and perchloroethylene. I hope I said that right first time. That would be pretty cool, right? So yeah, we know the paper and the laminate make sense because we know Grand Atrium is all about legality. There's legal papers, there's insurance, there's all these high, like, businesses, like, you know? So you can imagine the smell of some kind of, like, shipping, like, warehouse or, like, a, you know, office where they're, you know, faxing and printing and laminating and all this. But this third one, this perchloroethylene, fuck, I did it so good the first time. That's a real life chemical, which if you remember in the one Adna video, we had a little fun fact from Liza where, like, Adna has, like, fictional medicine and stuff and diseases, but the chemicals are, you know, real because, I mean, obviously, like, there's oxygen and stuff, and this is a chemical that's used in cleaning, specifically, like, dry cleaning, I think. So yeah, it's painting this picture of a very, like, sterile, you know, just orderly place. So we know Tsurine has been here a lot. This is probably her path to work, is coming to Dignity. I also think it's cute that anxiety is brought up, because when we first enter Smile Atrium, anxiety is brought up. So that's kind of a callback. Or maybe it's something more. Why is Tsurine always so anxious going in the new areas? I mean, me too. And yeah, so the Grand Atrium is wicked vertical, way more than anything she sees in Congenial Ward is being brought up. So Tsurine says we're gonna be extra nice to Jicca. That's really funny, because Tsurine, you are so, like, I don't want to say aggravating, but you definitely try to get reactions out of Jicca. It's cute, I like it a lot. So we have a, on the right here, we can't click on this, maybe later we can, probably later, but it says no prayers needed with Sterlie. I believe we hear about Sterlie in Witness. We hear about Care. It's an insurance thing, so we'll figure out what this means later, but it seems like, if I had to assume, it's like, you know, if you have life insurance, you don't need to pray, you don't need to be religious, you're good, you're safe. And that makes sense, because, like, in real life, you can have life insurance, but you're still gonna fucking die. But in Adna, if you have insurance, you die, you just get put back together. Theoretically, you can do that forever, right? If you have enough money. So you don't need to pray for your safety, because you'll be safe as long as you have Care. Damn, they should hire me. I think I could sell it pretty well. So we have PAX officers training in here, of course, of course. So we have a piercing parlor here. That's probably where Tsurine got her little ear piercings. She said she's been there once or twice. And of course, Sully, probably one of the top side characters in all of Adna. Maybe I'm projecting. I love Sully. She's awesome. A lot of interesting stuff in her room. It's a lot more blue than the GA green, which I like. I believe she names the colors. One of them's jade green is her favorite, which if I had to imagine, is like maybe this color's jade green or that, like these plants. But yeah, you can hear scraping when you come into the store, because I think she's filing her horns, like her little goat horns. Okay, so I didn't understand this until now, because when I read the words mill file, I just assumed it was like a nail filer. No, mill filers are huge. They're like 10 inches, almost a foot, and they're made for smoothing out fucking metal, brass and steel, like heavy duty materials. So I feel like this is this is kind of like a joke or a character thing that I kind of missed out on, is Sully's using this industrial metal like grinder, this file on her horns. That's just how, like, you know, instead of like, you can imagine the girl who would like, you come in and she's like got her nails that she's filing and she's like, hey, welcome, which is very Sully, but instead of that, it's a huge industrial thing with her horns, which is like a really cute detail that I now appreciate now that I actually know what a mill file is. So we know that Sully has designer salts, which is also the name of the song. Yeah, and so like we saw with Amber, those are very not designer salts. And then we have someone like Uphie, which are like middle of the road saltations. And designer seem to be more like, she's gonna talk about it, but you need to go to a place and get them done, kind of like a tattoo, like a designer tattoo, opposed to like etching it into your skin yourself. Yes, a mutalist chick in Natatoria. And mutalist is bolded and purple and whatever, so yeah, apparently getting custom salts hurts a bunch, which makes sense because the process of getting saltations, I mean, it's lucidating, right? So how the fuck do you get custom ones put in? Do they like lock you in a room and make you lucidate, or do they have to do something painful to you? I don't know, but that's very interesting. But yeah, so most of the time, getting salts hurts a bunch, but this girl, this mutalist chick knew what she was doing, put Sully into a deep sleep, had a shit nightmare, but I was looking clean when I woke up. You know, having a weird nightmare makes me think of the intro, right? I wonder if having the nightmare is like a lucidating manipulation thing. Like, she puts you under and somehow, like, there's gotta be a way to manipulate dreams in that, right? We've seen dreams being very strange so far. It's like the major mystery so far. So if there is a way in the world, a power or some kind of strategy, tactic you could use to manipulate dreams, perhaps you could manipulate someone's dreams, giving them a nightmare, which gave them saltations when they woke up, right? Because if you get saltations from your psychosia or stress, maybe stress in a dream can give you salts when you wake up. And she's the only one who does it. It's her own little style of nightmare saltations. And yeah, this is Coralie. And Coralie is, I believe, listed here. No, actually, Coralie's not here. It's Ferrere is the mutalist, my bad. So GA has a draft, which I believe when you go to the Sanatorian map, you can click on Grand Atrium and you'll learn that it's a very drafty area. And so yeah, that's a nice little moment for Grand Atrium. Bags of the same blood type, you and I. That's a banger, everyone. You need to start saying that. Oh my god, I said jade green, it's jade blue. That's what this color is, jade blue. Also, Sully and fucking Tsurine are flirting right now, I swear to god. She's like, oh, buy me a gift and you can spoil me with other gifts. And Sully says that being very forward runs in the family. Uh-huh. Cute register. I feel like I've seen one similar before. Sully hits us with the ... No response. We have this strange poster painting thingy. Yeah, painting. Mother told me it was my inner colors or some shit. Your mother's a painter. 1,000,001 things, painter included. Does she make this other painting? No. So yeah, we have like, there's like the two paintings, okay, in Sully's room. And there's okay, so there's this painting of the bunny, okay? And Sully said the person who made it is a bitch. And Tsurine's like, oh, just paint over the signature, right? The signature of the person who made it. They would put their own signature. And Sully's like, my sister would have an aneurysm if I did that. Okay? The word aneurysm? Suspicious? So now I would like to shout out. This is from a bit ago. This is from Sid in the server. Pointed out that the painting on Sully's wall is a bunny, and the signature is Piamat. We know Piamat loves bunnies. Sully said the painter's a bitch, but my sister would kill me if I took it down. Something like that. She mentioned her mother in the same conversation. Made me almost think that Piamat was her sister. Okay? That's another piece of the puzzle. Now, hold on. Next piece of the puzzle is from Greater Himijoshi Spirit, aka Aradia of Adna tuber fame, fellow Adna YouTuber. Said, because of the calendar that was released in the Discord, and USB 5.1, which is hidden under Piamat's bed, mentions the donation turnover. It's a whole bunch of names. I'll pull it up in a second. But Aradia is saying that Piamat was donated to from Quillo on the exact day of Piamat's birth, which is new information. We had no idea that it was on Piamat's birthday, okay? So that's also important. But the next piece of the puzzle is the donation turnover itself. We have Quillo, it says Quillo and then dash Piamat on the 26th, which is Piamat's birthday. Ladder Weiss, the 26th. But also, on the 32nd of Ladder Weiss, we have Sully. So Sully and Piamat, within the span of like a week-ish, or a couple, 2 Adna weeks, because they're 4 days a week, there were donations. Now, Aradia thinks that this must be when Piamat was born, and I think... Give me a second. Yes, so see, here we have Ladder Weiss 237, and on the calendar, Ladder Weiss 26, 237, is Piamat was born in an MS nursery. So, we can assume that Sully was also born the kind of 10 days later or whatever. So, that's a lot of information that's coming together here, relating Piamat and Sully, and for whatever reason, there's a donation to both of them on very close to Piamat's birth, and probably, well, on Piamat's birth, and probably on Sully's birth. Now, what does it mean to be a sister in Adna when we don't even know how people are born? I have no idea. Do you come from the same nursery? Is that what it means to be a sister? Because, like, I have no idea what that even means. Because who even knows if genetics are real? Because there's no... we don't even know if there's insemination, if there's like a sperm in the egg. Like, how the fuck are babies made? Please tell me. Like, I don't understand. So, yeah, that's a lot of information here. Not really sure what to make of it. But, yeah, it seems that... And my sister would have an aneurysm. That is like... That's piecing it together right there. The aneurysm, we've only seen that word with Piamat like more than once. It was twice or something. So, yeah. Didn't I talk about this in the server or something? There's a thing here called Salasanda, okay? And that is very similar to Salasansa, Taika, or whatever, which we're gonna hear about in this episode. It's a binding agent for liquid medications. Now, I was thinking that salus is salt, right? Latin. I believe salus is Latin for salt, or very similar. And if it's a binding agent for liquid medication, if we can figure out what this is a real-life parallel to, maybe that can tell us a bit about what Salasansa is, like what it means. Because I feel like this was put here as a clue. Why, like, this is such a... Like, you know, these two items don't really mean anything. They can't use them. They're just here for lore. They're chemicals and medications that are used in pharmaceuticals or whatever. But then it's called Salasanda. Like, that is gonna make you think of Taika. So we'll come back to this. And then we have miralactine, which... Then what's the importance of this? A liquid for facilitating the insertion of refrigerated pills? Interesting. Very interesting. But then we have the chlorodyne one, which is salicylic acid. Forms the basis of salicylates and anti-inflammatory medications most often used for head pain. Okay, so this is a stabilizing ingredient. It's Sully's brand of salicylic acid. So piamat needs salicylic acid to stabilize whatever she's doing. It is the basis of salicylate anti-inflammatory medication. So it seems like piamat is having inflammatory head pain, inflammation in her head. And yeah, I need to do some research to see if I can find a real life parallel to this. Bum bum bum, like I just said, chemicals in Adna are from, like, they're the real world chemicals. So I look it up and there's actually a Wikipedia article. Salicylic acid. So this is mostly used, the medical use of this is to remove the outermost layer of your skin. And it's used to treat warts and acne. What's interesting here is salt is brought up. Salts of salicylic acid are known as salicylates, which is brought up right here. So we'll figure out what that is. But interesting that salix is Latin for willow tree, and this is a plant hormone, okay? So the hydroponics being used for pharmaceutical ingredients, I think it has merit. I think that's maybe what she's doing. She's growing ingredients, but what's so suspicious about that? There's gotta be another piece to the puzzle. Oh, this is really interesting. This isn't exactly the acid that I don't know why it's like the hardest thing for me to say. But salicylic acid is used in aspirin. And aspirin is anti-inflammatory drug for headaches. So we're understanding a bit now. We're learning from Adna so that this base chemical can be used to make aspirin, which makes sense. Alrighty, so yeah, that was a nice little lesson. But now we're going to lie and talk about Dolly. My name is Dolly. You didn't know the Get Better card has a cat on it? Very cute. And where is the chlorodyne? Stabilizing ingredient for irregular depressants that cost an arm and a leg. 4 filtered chlorodyne may have literally costed Maddie an arm and a leg. So yeah, an ingredient for irregular depressants. Okay, time for more research. Okay, I can't find anything except, you know, what depressants are, which they, for what I'm assuming, they like lower brain activity. So maybe this has to do with the headache. It's not only relieving inflammatory pain, it's also brain activity. And the fact that it's irregular makes me think it's this kind of off-brand or off-market stabilizer stuff. I also want to mention that the other two medicine, Salisunda and Miralactine, are not in real life, so those are fictional, and that is interesting. Anyway, let's tell Sully that we're piamat. So, Sully does not sell to piamat anymore, for whatever reason, because apparently she's using us. Which implies that piamat has used other people before, maybe made them come do these orders, or maybe Sully just thinks piamat is a manipulator. And now Sully does know piamat by Maddie. So, Sully's like, piamat's making you pretend to be someone who you aren't to get my product. And Tsurine's like, well, did piamat do something bad with your product? And Sully says ... No. Now, I hope that's the truth, but maybe it isn't, because she hesitated. Interesting. Sully just thinks piamat's weird. I don't know, this feels like there's something more here, like some kind of incident happened. Or maybe this is actually just Sully and piamat are just kind of bitchy to each other, and it's not that big of a deal. That might be what it is. That would be kind of funny. So the pleading aster keychain was left by piamat. So Sully is saying that piamat is borderline toxic to have as a friend, saying that she is rude and mean and will treat you like garbage to the point where, you know, when she starts being, you know, a little bit normal, that you start to think, you know, she's, oh my god, like, she's being so nice to me when it's just, you know, normal human decency. So that's pretty intense of a way for Sully to describe Piamat. I mean, it doesn't really seem like that. Like, yeah, Piamat's a little cold, and maybe someone, you know, you could call her rude, but yeah, I don't see that. So I wonder what happened between the two. And Tsurine's also like, yeah, I don't see that. Well, I clicked this option. Tsurine's saying that these kind of, you know, toxic people, they try to rope you in, but Piamat pushes everyone away. So we have a purple flower pressed between quarter panes. The pleading aster is said to represent discipline, sincerity, and love. So it feels like to me that Piamat gave this as some kind of like, you know, here's me showing discipline, and I sincerely love you, or I'm sincerely sorry, you know, like a friendship kind of thing. Because, you know, like there's, maybe not, but that's how I want to look at it. Because, I mean, why else would she give this to Sterlie? It's not like her being mean. Like, this was her trying to be nice, I think. And here we go. We have absolution through control. Now, this is the second time we hear about control. Last video, we heard Maddie saying she feels like she doesn't have any control over her life or whatever. Now, I did not know this. The word absolution actually means the act of forgiving someone. I thought it was like absolute, but like a noun version of absolute, but I guess absolute already is a noun. So yeah, absolution means the act of forgiving. So here we go. Yeah, maybe I heard this from someone else and that's why I was thinking about it, but so forgiveness through control. So is that saying Piamat is trying to, is she too controlling? You know, like she's like, oh, and her giving this gift is a very like controlling way of forgiveness instead of a more earnest, honest way. Maybe that's interesting. And there's also at the top, it says preserving a pretty flower by squashing it between two transparent frame seems oddly fitting for Piamat. I'm not really sure if I understand what that means just yet. Like, yeah, Piamat is a pretty flower, but like, okay, to preserve a pretty flower by squashing it between two transparent frames. Is this, again, about control? It's like controlling this pretty thing by trapping it so we can observe it forever and preserve it? Maybe? See, now I feel like I'm stretching here a lot, but I feel like there's a meaning there that might make sense later when we get to learn more about Maddie. Because, like, yeah, why would it be oddly fitting? Like, that seems like it's, like, telling us that, hey, this is symbolic of Piamat as a character, and I just don't think I have the PhD in Piamat just yet to understand what that means. And of course, here is the pleading aster. It's very pretty purple, and it's in between glass. So yeah. So Tsurine. Oh, this is interesting. Actually, this is interesting because our phone is broken. I actually didn't know about this little line of dialogue. Usually, when we come here, we get a text from Jicca that says eyes. She says, second room on the left, eyes open. Okay. Now that is a ridiculous thing to occur. How the fuck does Tsurine know, or how does Jicca know that we just entered the hospital? There's clearly some shit going on that the game wants us to think that Jicca like just knows where we are. The fact that she says eyes open, like I know that's her little thing, but to say it in such an ominous way is just very, you know, it's ominous. So it seems like Jicca has some manner of knowing where we are, whether that's something realistic like a tracker or whether it's some kind of like ace ability. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's Providence. Like I don't know how close she is with Providence, right? Like does she just get updates from Providence? Like, oh hey, Tsurine's here. Tell her to come. I don't know. But since her phone is broken, Tsurine just knows that they usually put special guests in the second room on the left. Does that mean Tsurine has been to this hospital before? Because Valley's like, she's at Vima's hospital. And Tsurine isn't like, oh, where's Vima's? What's that? And like, no, Tsurine kind of knows. So that's interesting. Jicca's saying she took on a bit more than she could chew. I might read a lot of this because I really like this scene. And yeah, I think it's important just to digest most of it. Yeah, so Jicca got her ass handed to her. We know Jicca doesn't curse a lot, and, well, is ass a curse? Not really, but it's kind of crass. So, it kind of shows how serious this is. Is this like Jicca like realizing that she was not the best? I don't think so. I think this is more like she's like admitting that she got obliterated, which should be impossible for Jicca. She is basically the best at sterlie in the world at what she does. Yeah, Jicca's only been scotched once as a psyspec, but never since becoming the retainer, and it seems like she's been retainer for a while. So Jicca's familiar with Suli's store, and used to get cards there for family, which is interesting. We don't hear much about Jicca's family, but she would get cards there. Now, maybe they're not just get well better. Yeah, get well better cards. But if they are, then maybe someone in Jicca's family has some kind of condition, or they're very sick all the time, where she has to often get these cards. But yeah, it seems like Jicca does care about her family, despite always being super fucking busy, and the USB will read it later on about her family, where they're basically saying Jicca's way too busy. But it seems like her family did not appreciate the effort that Jicca was putting in, despite, you know, being the most important and busy person in the entire world, right? I think that's something that we can claim. So it seems like all the stuff we hear about Jicca's family in D1 is painting them in a pretty bad light, which is unfortunate for Jicca. I wonder if her family is very like haughty, like very rich and pompous. You're gonna say a card is cheap? That's really rare, you know? Even in like shitty families, like, you know, it's kind of a pretty sound like a pompous family where they're like, oh, that's so cheap, Jicca. Or maybe they know how important Jicca is, and maybe they're kind of like, oh, why don't we get something worth more, you know? Or maybe they feel inadequate compared to Jicca, so they kind of just always kind of trash talk the things she does because she's the most important person in the world. They're jealous. Who knows? A lot of speculation, but yeah. So far, all we've seen is people in her family being very judgmental and dismissal about what Jicca does, saying that her gifts are cheap and she needs to spend more time with everyone, which is fucked up. I'm actually going to read the USB now, just because I feel like it's relevant, and let's just get a good understanding of Jicca's family, because I've never thought about it before and I've never heard it discussed. So this is a USB we find in Jicca's bathroom, or the ideal bathroom, which is basically Jicca's. So this is from Jicca. Hey sis, how's it going? I've been exhausted lately with work. I appreciate the vacation offer, but I can't make time for it. I have to decline. I promise I'll stop by for Giftus, but I can't stay for the party. I got little Maurice a Euphone charm. I hope she likes that sort of thing. So, yeah, so we know Jicca gets exhausted with work, which I feel like should be stated because she seems superhuman, but she's still human. And sounds like she would enjoy going on vacation, but she just can't. She values her work more than, you know, taking a break. And it sounds like Jicca's sister, who we learn her name is Nerian, has a daughter, it seems, called Maurice, who we're about to learn isn't even old enough to use this charm. USB was updated. A charm? Maurice isn't old enough to have a Euphone yet. Don't you think work is maybe biting into your family life? How about your personal life? Do you even have one? It's too much, Jicca. You're not a machine. You're going to break down at some point. I heard the girl you recruited for your ward has an exemption. Really, Jicca? How is she supposed to help? Okay. So, yeah, so Jicca doesn't even know anything about her daughter, her sister's daughter, how old she is, and if she even has a Euphone, where the gift isn't even, like, working. Like, Jicca put in the effort and thought it would be nice, but unfortunately, she just doesn't have the time to get to know this person, this child, which is sad. And instead of appreciation, Nerian seems to be a little like this is ridiculous, which I can understand a little bit. And yeah, you know, Jika's job is biting into all of her time. Does she even have a personal life? I mean, we don't really know. We ask her in a bit about, what kind of gifts she would like, and it's hard to get a good answer. And yeah, Jika's basically treating life like a machine, but she's gonna break down at some point, which I wonder if that's gonna happen. I wonder if a little bit of this scene is her kind of breaking down, because we see she got fucked up, and it's kind of hitting her. And yeah, so this is interesting. The girl you recruited for your ward has an exemption, which is Tsurine. Now, I guess Jika was covering for CW and recruited Tsurine for it. I think. That's the only way I can interpret this. And I feel like I remember reading that. Yeah. You need to drop the whole if you want a job done right ideology, which is if you want a job done right, do it yourself. Because Jika does do like everything. Rely on someone who can actually take weight off of you. I feel like you're treating this new girl, Tsurine, as an emotional replacement for Amelia. And we know Amelia is Jika's ex-girlfriend who seems to have been binned or something. I think we'll learn about that in a bit. So, yeah. Maybe this Amelia person did take weight off of Jika and made Jika's life easier. But Jika lost that. And Jika has been doing everything herself. Are you at least listening this time? You can't substitute a shortcoming with another person. What if something happens to Tsurine? Yeah, because something happened to Amelia. When you come over for Giftus, I'm making you take the rest of the day off. It's non-negotiable. Do it for Maurice. She's young. You still have time to begin a proper relationship with your niece. So, yeah. And with love, your sister Nerian. So the sister seems to care about Jika, but it's kind of putting her foot down. And yeah, super interesting little insight into Jika's family. I understand both sides, like it's a lot of complicated drama, and I hope it gets easier for Jika. Also, I apologize, in the USB so what I had on screen was USB that I wrote down from the game. It was outdated. It's not Giftus, it's actually Giving's Day, which we know from the calendar is this really cute holiday. Hold on, let me pull it up. Yeah, here we go. It's the one where you pick a misgivings for the holidays and you go on the autorails with all the photos and you basically end up with a big party at the end where everyone's giving gifts. So Jika talks about the gift that was cheap, right? Or that her family thought it was cheap. And Tsurine's like, well, do you think this card that I'm giving you is cheap? And Jika says no. I think it shows you were thinking of me even in spite of the rush. Which I think is Jika, that's also Jika's thoughts on her gift to her family, the cards. She's like, well, I was thinking of you despite my rush. I thought it was sweet, And here we go again. There's something nice about, the gift that others overlook. Which, yeah, that I think Jika agrees with this sentiment. And then she says, don't you think? This is interesting. This is a little suspicious. Every time I see the word like overlook or eyes or look or anything relating to eyes with Jika, it gets me thinking. And this is very introspective, and Jika does a lot of this where she tries to get a read for Tsurine. And then at the end, there's some point in disc 1 where Jika says we've been acting weird or something's off about us. So Jika's been elusive lately, which is interesting. We haven't really seen that since we've only seen one day as of now, but it seems like in the past kind of week maybe, Jika's been elusive, so maybe she's been doing something behind the scenes. But she wants to be a bit closer with Tsurine. Now, I feel like that USB I just read may have influenced Jika a bit on a lot of her actions. Yeah, here we go. We have Jika not wanting to be alone anymore. She needs to rely on other people, which is what the USB was saying. I figured piling things on myself was the best move. Exactly. If you need to get a job done, right, you do it yourself. So Jika's saying if she can't handle something, she's going to give Tsurine a call, which, it is nice, but at the same time, that is ridiculous. Like, you're talking about the most busy and complicated and strongest member of Sterlie going to call on one of the ones that can't carry a lot of weight, Tsurine, She can't use a pill gun. She's really good at what she does, but Jika's gonna need help with that kind of stuff, you know? So it's a really complicated issue. Exactly, and Tsurine understands this. She's like, I don't think I can really help you. So yes, Jicca is, you know, taking care of Congenial Ward. I don't know how I forgot about that. And Tsurine is Jicca's responsibility, which is a little bit of a... I feel like there's a little bit of a flirt there, Jicca. I don't know if that's what you intended, but that's what it feels like. Oh shit. Jicca said, I'm a retainer. She didn't say, I'm the retainer. She said, I'm a retainer. Okay, that one word, that choice, the word a instead of the, that is a huge difference. I didn't bring it up, but Tsurine was like, oh, why don't you involve the other tips? And I was going to say, like, oh yeah, Jicca is considered a tips, right? She is a tips and a retainer. We see this with Ceres. Ceres, we learned this from Liza, but Ceres is a tips and an S-Pro. Like, to become an S-Pro, you have to be a tips. Same with Ferrith, I believe. She is Eternal Affairs, but she also counts as a tips. So it's like, when you're at the top, you're also the things below it. That's what it seems like. So maybe Jicca even counts as a psyspec, even though she is a retainer and a tips. But yeah, Jicca is a retainer, not the retainer. This is very suspicious that she says this, and then later on says there's only 2 retainers. Wow, Jicca, you kind of slipped up here, I think. Maybe. This could totally be fair, because the retainer is a role. You could say, you know, oh, I'm a retainer, right? There's been previous retainers, there'll be future retainers, so... But we have to be suspicious of this line. We have no other choice. So yeah, we know that Sterlie has limited resources, including the members, which is what they're talking about. And yeah, again, Tsurine is under Jicca's wing. She just needs to do a better job at managing her resources, you know, Tsurine. So Tsurine's trying to be like, oh, you know, maybe it's time to ignore some rules, right? Kind of like that thing we talked about with Leida, where rules and regulations aren't always good things. That sometimes, especially when you're dealing with the kind of dramatic tragedies that Sterlie has to deal with, is sometimes you need to cut some corners to save people or to do a good job, right? And Tsurine's like, why not that? Do a charge transfer from somewhere. Yeah, like Mariel Sweets is getting easy. We heard that from Valley. You can take halftime from Valley and Jay, exactly. But then I'm pretty sure Jicca's like, no. Like, Tsurine, no. But why? Why does she need to stick to these rules so much? Is it just because of Providence, right? Her hands are tied with Providence. It's really interesting how Jicca talks about the wards. It's almost like, it feels almost like fate or destiny. She's like, Congenial Ward is my responsibility. And then she's like, no, Congenial Ward is not Valley or Jay's ward. Like, it doesn't belong. Like, it's almost like, the way she talks about it is so serious. And Tsurine's like, why does that matter? You know, it's just, you could work anywhere. And Jicca's like, no, it does matter. Because that's how Providence wants things. So that's really interesting. This is because of Providence. Now, does Jicca agree with Providence, or does she just agree that she should follow what Providence wants? I'm not sure. And Tsurine's obviously being a little bit inflammatory here, like what she's saying. She's like, oh, Providence wants Congenial Ward to suffocate. And Jicca, I'm pretty sure, is like, yeah, if that's what Providence wants. Well, she doesn't say that, but Tsurine's like, your call, you're Jicca, you're the one on the field helping people and risking your life. Your call matters more. And Jicca's like, no, I can't do that. She took an oath, and the oath matters. I wonder if the oath is, you know, like the nursing vow, where it seems like you can't break it. What if an oath is making it harder to properly manage things? What if next time you don't come back? It won't matter, will it then? And Jicca's like, Tsurine, it seems like, if I had to guess, I think Jicca knows all these things. I think she obviously knows all of this. You know, but it's still, I'm glad Tsurine is saying it. So Jicca's like, yep, Providence makes the rules, not me. Jicca, you're portraying a lot of cog behavior, I'm just saying that right now. Jicca just listens. Tsurine comes over, sits on the bed. Very, very cute. So Tsuриne's like, I know, I'm just, and then Jicca finishes the sentence and says, worried about me. You know, sometimes you really remind me of someone I once knew. So yeah, this is about Amelia. D1 is so like cross-referential or something. Like all the details we learn later, like they make so much sense now. Like we know exactly why Jicca wants to rely on other people. It's because of what she says in the suitcase scene with the pill gun, and what she has in her bathroom, the USB that's probably been in her head for a couple weeks, of that she needs to take a step back and allow other people to help her out. So all this has been in her head, and now we get to see it, and we kind of can know what's in her brain right now, which is just a really nice feeling. So yeah, Jicca's thinking of her dead ex-girlfriend, or her dead girlfriend, or whatever. That's wonderful. And gives Sue a little playful elbow. One of my favorite things about Jicca is her little elbow. Like, look how lanky she is. It's cute. I know how much of a nag I can be when I'm on duty. That's an interesting clarification, that, like, Jicca knows that she's a bit of a rule stickler and perhaps frustrating, but it's when she's on duty. Like, she's probably doing it on purpose because someone has to be like that for things to run smoothly. So hopefully we get to see Jicca, you know, more off duty, which we do in this disc. Like when we're walking around with her, and it's not like she's like, do your job, do this, do that. If something happens to me, you're signed to Maves. Yeesh, that's a pretty intense thing to say, but I guess we'll remember that in case of something bad happening. In case you were curious, Maves does not have a stick up her ass as of right now. That might change. So Jicca's being kind of self-deprecating here, and morbid as well, talking about, like, if we, like, take a step back here, Jicca's saying that if she were to get scotched or binned or something, that wouldn't it be nice for Tsurine to have a better boss that isn't such a bitch? Like, Jicca's being pretty morbid here. I think that might be an insight into her head, and she's kind of a little vulnerable, kind of self-deprecating a bit, which I imagine she never gets to do. But yeah, like, if you kind of think about what she's saying, it's pretty morbid. So Tsurine's saying, you know, if we choose to tell her that I hope that doesn't happen, Tsurine's like, if you were no longer at Sterlie, the whole thing would crumble, which I agree with. I think Jicca is super integral to Sterlie. But then, we get some interesting dialogue here of Maves, Holocene, and Manowar are more than capable of taking over. Now, does this mean taking over as retainer? Maybe. I mean, we have to, because if Jicca's gone, who's going to be retainer? And I think we hear another line like this, I think about Maeve specifically or something. But, yeah, and Aradia pointed this out, like, Holocene, Manowar, they, you know, are they capable of taking over? Manowar is never around, and she is a total, you know, blender brain, eccentric girl, like, but hey, maybe she knows how to have her, like, her shits together when it comes to work. You know, Holocene is also never in, and she seems pretty eccentric, and barely speaks, like, is always speaking Librecod, so, but hey, maybe they can actually do it. I'll trust Jicca. Maves, I understand. Maves, I understand. But yeah, Jicca's saying, yeah, they're not as serious as her. Yeah, here we go. Maves could step up to the plate. You know, this is a little worrying how much is being put on Maves. Possibly. Oh shit. Now I'm worried for Jicca. Why is there so much dialogue about Maves being a potential replacement for Jicca? Something better not happen to Jicca. I would actually... We already had the bad thing happen to Jicca with the stairs. Like, she's... Come on, right? Right? And here enters one of the most interesting scenes in the game, of course. So we help Jicca wants to get up for whatever reason. So Tsurine helps Jicca up, an arm around the shoulder, and Jicca immediately falls, kind of, which basically turns into a Kabadon where you are against the wall and Jicca's there with an arm on each side of your head. Why did Jicca want to get up? Was it to do this? I feel like, I mean, what was the plan here? Like, I'm not being silly here. Like, I think Jicca might have actually wanted to get Tsurine in this position because what she says next is very, like, serious. And Tsurine's like, whoa, like, are you okay? You just fell. And Jicca's like, Tsurine. And she is staring intensely through you, here begins my obsession with Jicca's eyes and Jicca's obsession with our eyes. There is so much dialogue in this disc talking about Jicca staring at us, okay? So we need to keep in track, dear viewer, and figure out what the fuck this could mean. So Jicca is staring intensely through you. Now the word through feels very important. I don't think Jicca's looking at us. I think she can see something else. Or maybe it's more metaphorical. For some reason, she's ignoring us. She got up so she could fucking pin us to the wall and stare at us. And she's like, Tsurine, and she's staring right through us. Here we go. As if she were recognizing something unseen about you. Her face comes close enough to feel her breath. It's impossible to tell what's going on behind her eyes. So, yeah, it's almost like a lot of the description here is like she's staring intensely through you, something unseen. It's impossible to tell what's going on. Like, it's almost like a possession. Like, she is not entirely there. Like, we don't know what she's thinking. We don't know what she's looking at. She's not looking at us. She's looking at something else. And now she starts talking like this. Now I say the word possession. I'm not saying she's actually possessed or something, but it's like she is so focused. She's like so zoned in and almost like in a trance, but like not an actual trance. It's just like she's just staring at us. And it's like, Tsurine, the room at the top of the tower. Sterlie Tower, right? It has to be Sterlie Tower. The one covered in a strange cancer of architecture. So she gets even closer, and now she is caging our head between her arms. So she's even closer. Unable to move. Have you seen it? So for some reason, Jicca thinks that we have seen the strange cancer at the top of the tower, just by looking at us. And Jicca's convinced, just by looking at us, or whatever she's looking at, you have, haven't you? And Tsurine's like, no? Like, she's like, what the hell's going on? Got full purple text here. Have you seen the arms of Providence? Which I imagine is the strange cancer of architecture at the top of the world. Did you touch them? Did Providence speak to you? Have you been to the mall beneath Laska? The mall beneath Laska, which to me I think is the Happy Times Mall. Obviously we know the mall isn't beneath Laska, but I think that it would go down Laska, down the escalator, which I believe Jicca fell down the Laska elevator, right? Or the escalator, if there is one there, but I imagine there is. We'll get there and we'll see how much of that is true or me just making shit up. But have you been to the mall beneath Laska? So these are all related. The arms of Providence, did you touch them, right? So did you go up to the tower and touch the arms of Providence? But now, did you speak? Did Providence speak to you? Now, can Providence speak to you at the arms of Providence, or is that somewhere else? And now we're thinking about the mall beneath Laska. So what's beneath Laska? The arms of Providence are at the top of the tower, it seems. And how about the mouth of Providence is beneath Laska? Because, like, it seems like there's different parts of Providence, is what I'm thinking here. We have the eyes of the world from the intro, which I think is a part of Providence. And the arms of Providence have to do with touch, right? Feeling. Now, speech, you wouldn't say arms do anything with speech. So maybe all the way in Laska, there's the mouth or the lips of Providence. Now I wonder, we're getting into crazy speculation. We're already speculating a ton, but I have a feeling that schizotism may have started when, in the elevator, Tsurine and GITE went to the eyes of the world, and being too close to the eyes of the world fucked up their vision. So perhaps being too close to the arms or the mouth can fuck up your other senses and shit. Because all three of these are senses, by the way. Speaking is hearing, I guess, right? That one's a little iffy because you would think it would be the ears of the world, but there's taste too. Your mouth speaking, it's a little iffy, but touching and the eyes are senses. So I think that going to these locations, getting too close to Providence, kind of marks you. And I think one of the markings is schizotism, but maybe one of the others is whatever this thing is that Tsurine's having in her dreams, like these people talking and the tendrils that are showing up in her head. I think that is an imprint that Jicca is seeing. And Jicca is trying to figure out right now, where did she get this? Was it the arms? Was it the thing beneath Laska? Like, where did she get it? Now, Jicca thinks Tsurine's lying. For some reason, Jicca's pretty convinced. I think she can see something. And Jicca's being serious. She's saying, don't lie to me. And Tsurine understands how serious Jicca's being. And is pleading, like, hey, I'm not lying to you. So Jicca leans away to, quote-unquote, regain her balance, whatever that means. Keeping one arm flush to the side of your head. And now Jicca's like, no. And so Jicca's no longer looking at us, by the way, which I think might be important. I think she's trying to focus now on what Tsurine's saying. But she's like, Tsurine's not lying? No? Of course not. So I think Jicca understood that Tsurine isn't lying. It's because Tsurine doesn't remember. I think that's why. I think Tsurine doesn't realize whatever is happening to her, but Jicca does. But I don't think Jicca knows exactly what's going on, but she has an idea that Tsurine has had contact with Providence, and Jicca's trying to figure out how, like what happened. And I think that's why for the rest of the disc, Jicca is staring at us. The entire disc, Jicca is trying to figure out what happened to us. She knows something's off. And now Jicca says, stay away from anything folly and color. Now, I mentioned it last episode, is folly Sindine? I have to say no. I think this is almost our best information that folly is something relating to Providence, because Jicca's strictly talking about Providence here, and now saying stay away from all the things I just mentioned. Stay away from folly and color. So it seems like Tsurine's contact with folly, which was Codatine, the whole start of the game, the absolute start of the game, was because we were injected with Codatine, which Piamat had involvement in, just saying. Because of that, we have been imprinted by Providence, and Jicca can notice it, because Jicca knows a lot. She knows about Providence. She speaks to Providence, I imagine. She communes with Providence, I believe is the word. So Jicca has information about this, and she can notice a marking. Perhaps because people who have spoken with Providence kind of have a link. Like maybe Jicca sees things a little differently now, and can notice this kind of like aura emanating off of Tsurine that's like the Providence folly aura, right? So Jicca's just saying stay away from anything folly. So now I'm thinking, and the viewer, the reader's thinking, and probably Tsurine is saying, oh, I haven't touched the arms of Providence, but I have been in contact with folly. I had the Codatine. I don't think Tsurine would remember that being folly until the end of D1, where we learn about it being folly. But she has been seeing these tendrils in her vision. I don't know if she can actually see them, but something's going on. So yeah, that is, a lot of that is just my theory, but I think it's pretty baked in logic. Not too much speculation, I think. We'll see where that goes. Jicca says, stay away from anything in folly and color. That's an order. And then she hesitates and says, just if you happen to ever see anything, you know? So this feels very like, she kind of said too much. Jicca's saying, you know. Like, she's almost unconvinced. Like, she is saying too much, you know? She's trying to play it off cool. Which makes me put into question her previous line of stay away from folly. That's an order. Maybe this has been mentioned before, but you know, Jicca's like, oh, you know, if you happen to see anything, right? Like, not like you have seen anything or you will. Maybe the folly is actually targeting Tsurine, and Jicca knows this. Which has been a theory, that the folly is seeking out Tsurine. But yeah. Tsurine's like, why? And then Jicca says there's only one retainer. Only one who communes with Providence. Anyone else tampering with such things is dangerous. Just trust in me. Okay. So her wording again is very specific. She's saying there's only one retainer, only one who communes with Providence. But what about there could be another one that doesn't commune with Providence? Maybe it's a different term, but it's also a retainer. Maybe, if we want to think about senses, right? Maybe one communes, but the others do other things relating to Providence, right? And anyone tampering with Providence who isn't a retainer, the one retainer, is dangerous. And we need to just trust Jicca. And I do trust her. But yeah, there seems to be another retainer that doesn't commune with Providence for whatever reason. Did they defect? Do they have another job? Who knows? And the folly is being connected to this other retainer. They are talking about avoid folly if you ever happen to see anything. Tsurine says, why? Jicca says, because there's only one retainer. So that makes me think that the folly is a representation of this other retainer, which makes sense. And it's why I think folly is related to Providence, because the other retainer is related to Providence. So does that mean that the other retainer... Now here's me collecting all the theories that have been circulating the Discord. The other retainer is somehow the girl in the elevator who is represented by Folly within Providence, basically, and does not commune with Providence, kind of has defected and went away, or has been absorbed into Providence, and is using Folly to reach out to Tsurine specifically. That's why Jicca's like, hey, have you seen Folly? Oh, just in case you have seen it or you happen to see it. Not like it's totally targeting you, and I know it's targeting you. Just be careful. Anyone tampering with Providence who isn't me, it's dangerous. That's a theory to think about. But I think we can pretty confidently say that Folly is connected to the other retainer. And the other retainer might be this kind of sickness that is Folly, that is creeping out into the world, and for whatever reason, perhaps targeting Tsurine. So, when Jicca pulls her hand away, she touches her neck, and finds out that at the back of her neck, there's blood. We're bleeding. We are currently bleeding. A large, long wound. There's gooey blood and crusty blood, which I believe is trying to tell us that there's old blood and now blood right now. So I wonder if this wound started bleeding because of what's going on. I feel like this wound is related to whatever happened at the night of D0. But maybe longer because there's crust. But anyway, I think when we talk about certain things, this Folly retainer does things to Tsurine's body, including the bleed. It's almost like it's getting angered, or it's trying to communicate or fight back. And as Jicca's talking about this, it starts leaking and bleeding. Imagine if the blood isn't actually red, it's Folly. Because, I mean, hey, there's red blood and there's locum pink, right? And what's in between blood and locum pink? That's right, literally Folly. So if you were to get the colors mixed up, it would be seeing a red-pink liquid come out of somebody. I'm just saying. So Tsurine does not know how long it's been there. Jicca's considering this. And so Jicca heals us up. So I think, as of now, I think Jicca knows that something's happening to Tsurine, revolving the other retainer, Providence, and Folly, and is now trying to figure it out. And I think she understands that Tsurine has no idea what's going on. So, as of now, Jicca is fucking suspicious of us. Which I think is really cool. And I'm excited to see in the future if we can get like a recap of what Jicca was thinking once we kind of figure out everything. Or maybe like at the end of the game we can come back and play and understand what's going on, like what Jicca's doing and thinking here. Also, I'm interested to see, with the whole Sindine thing going on, we want Jicca to notice Sindine, right? So now things are going to get messy because we have multiple things that Jicca's trying to figure out. Watch your back in the future. says Jicca. Watch your back in the future. Get it looked at and watch your back in the future. That's very strange. It's very strange. We have the word watch with Jicca, of course, another reference to eyes. And yeah, watch your back. Obviously, kind of a double meaning because it's on the back of our neck. Very strange. And then she says eyes open. I remember I had this weird theory that there was an eye, like the wound was some kind of eye that was watching our back or something, and it was connected to the whole eyes of the world, and I don't know. I think I just made, I don't know what the evidence for that is, but thought I would bring it up. Very strange. Eyes open, watch your back. There's so much going on, Jicca. You're far too suspicious. Tsurine says, yeah, no kidding, I should watch my back. And then Jicca says, and then cuts herself off, yeah. Just be careful. So Jicca was gonna say more, but she cut herself off because she is currently in investigation mode. So she cut herself off. And now she's hesitating, and there's no music, it's very tense. Keep what I told you between us, okay? So again, we have information being kept quiet. Just like when we tried to tell Leida about the folly kept us quiet. So it seems like Jicca kind of knows the rules a bit more than us. We're not allowed to talk about this stuff. But Jicca was able to talk about the other retainer, and she wasn't interrupted. So she doesn't seem to be prevented by this folly, like we are. Or the folly is okay with Jicca talking about it, maybe because they both know. So now Jicca's saying the retainer. It's a secret between the retainer and her pupil. And we are the retainer's pupil. So when I thought it was interesting, an idea I had is to actually look up the definition of a retainer. I know a retainer has something to do with like old kingdom stuff. And looking it up, a retainer seems to be a very, very high-ranking servant of a lord, a noble, a king, a queen, right? Who kind of does whatever. They're a confidant, a spy, you know, they just did things. They were the right-hand person of the Lord. Now, there's another, so I wanted to look it up to see if there's, since we have the retainer, which seems to be maybe, so Providence would be the Lord or the Queen or whatever, and Jicca is the retainer, to the Lord, the right-hand person, the confidant, the communer, right? And I was curious if the pupil was a term, and I couldn't find one. But I was also curious, if we're having some kind of secret other retainer, I wonder if there's maybe some kind of other role we could look at. Maybe try and find out what this person could be called. The only thing that I could come up with while doing a little bit of very simple research is a vassal. This is in feudal society. A noble or knight that was given land by a lord in exchange for loyalty, protection, and military service. Now, you hear about, when I look it up, I see vassal and retainer, are sometimes the same person. So, yeah, that is just something I'm bringing up. I don't know if it's too important. If anyone is, well-versed in this kind of medieval stuff, or can do better research than me, please let me know, because maybe I can watch a video about it sometime in the future, but because there might be something to gather here. Jicca says that she's feeling okay, so you just need to watch me. Again, put it on the counter of the times Jicca references eyes and watching. Again, Tsurine says, let's kick it. Let us. There's the music. Banger. Now we get to explore dignity with our lovely Jicca. I feel like this episode's pretty long already, but let's make it longer, why not? I don't know, let's do it. So, Tsurine usually doesn't take this route to, to Sterlie Tower. She usually goes elsewhere, on the autorail, but Jicca knows the shortcut. Good shit. Yeah, language, Tsurine, no cursing. One of the best dialogues, where we can continuously click on this door. If we get Jicca another gift, it might send her the wrong message. Send Jicca the wrong message? The wrong message. Is that such a bad thing? I mean, Jika's a retainer. You'd be weird not to think she's hot. So true, Tsurine. Oh, sorry, Jika's here too, in her thoughts. Jika's like, dot, dot, dot. What? What are you doing here? Oh no, she's noticed us staring at the door. Oh, we're staring, are we now, Jika? Add it to the fucking counter. Also, oh, we have Jika here. She's so tall. The one and only retainer, of course. My boss. What a fun name, Jika. That is a fun name. But yeah, why is so serious? Why is the serious capitalized? That's interesting. That means something? But Jika takes up the slot of piamat, which is weird. Very strange. I think Jika and piamat have a lot of similarities. And this is one of them. Oh god, Tsurine's freaking out. She's losing her mind. She's blushing like crazy. Thinking about Jika getting close to her. So Jika's literally watching us because she's trying to investigate what's going on, and Tsurine's over here like having like a gay panic attack because she keeps thinking about Jika being hot. What kind of gifts do you like? Gifts. People bring fancy pens to my desk in Sterlie. Aren't those people suits? So yeah, people do visit Sterlie. People, the suits, you know, business people, maybe insurance people, maybe other kind of important figures. So Jika wants a pet. She wants to be given a pet. If she were to get a gift, she wants a pet. Why? Why does Jika want a pet? That sounds like a lot of work. Like a cat or a fish? Low maintenance and fancy? Jika's like, no, she wants something high maintenance, I guess, like a dog. Shows me a lot of love for taking care of it in the ways that I can. This seems very, I feel like there's a separate conversation having here. The things Jikas are saying, holy shit. And Tsurine's blushing, calling it kind of cute. And Jika's like, Tsurine? Yeah, be professional. And yeah, here's one of my favorite lines, including the face. Jika wants an affectionate pet. Of course, Tsurine wants to be that affectionate pet. Look how happy she is. She's pleased. An elevator for a multiplex. We have a multiplex, which is a maze of halls with various rooms, like apartments or stores. It's like a public atrium, but without the atrium. So yeah, a multiplex is like an apartment complex, but not just residential housing. There's also stores and stuff. So this is interesting. I had to bring this up. I forgot about that line. I kind of skipped over it. So Tsurine, they're talking about the multiplex, and Tsurine's like, "Oh, I learned a new word today, multiplex." But Jika is like, "Make sure to tell Yuffie that you learned a new word today." That's interesting, because Yuffie mentioned learning a new word in D0 called Flamox, and so it's almost like Jika knows about that, and it's saying, "Oh, tell Yuffie." Hey squeakers, it's me, future lolratz here, very tired, sleeping soon, but I just wanted to say the video's over. Okay, I said I would do all the dignity. Well, guess what? I'll do it soon, but not in this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Did you enjoy? I hope you did. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, remember, watch your back, eyes open.